lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. And here's your host, Miss Kim Robinson.
Get ready, Connecticut. The Queen of Gospel, winner of multiple Grammy and Stellar Awards. 40 years, 40 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Shirley Stevens.
It's okay. Don't you let your troubles get away.
Saturday, October 7th at Hill House Auditorium. It's a live concert with Pastor Shirley Caesar at the Hollaback Excellence Awards Show. Tickets are on sale at Kevin's Seafood and Rubber Match in New Haven, Connecticut, and also at Jimmy's Clothing in Bridgeport, Connecticut. For more information, call Big Tone at area code 203-314-4839 or email hollabackgospelawards.com. This is another Big Tone production.
It's all right.
Shout out D on the track, Paint Music Media. Shout out DJ Lee Productions, and I'm Al Ken. But if you a game changer, got my head. My grind on high, win, lose, and drought. I'ma ride till I die. I go hard in that lane. My God is the aim. Put me in, coach, and watch me change the game. Cause I'm a game changer. 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 I'm full court press. I pledge allegiance to the best. Ain't nothing left to give it that reverence that the Father gets. So every day I work the sweat, can get a flesh another rest. They say go hard or go home. I say just do whatever's best. It's evident I'm blessed and I work like it. Fight like a Viking. Fight like a lichen. The difference is I like it, so I shine like I'm lightning. So I'm going head to head with certain depth. Who you liking? Yeah. So it's time for coach to put me in. I'm strapping on my shoulder pads, lacing up my cleats, and then I'm gone with the wind. Like I'm gone in 60 seconds. You can't hold me, you can't check me. Check the memo, check the message running through. Like I'm baddest, I'm trucking whoever's standing in my way. Ain't no way you gon' stop me. You better off to let me in. Cause I go hard, even though they say no way that I could win. Like I'm Brett Ford, I'ma ride this way. My head to the sky, my grind on high. Win, lose, and drought. I'ma ride till I die. I go hard in that lane. My God is the aim. Put me in, coach, and watch me change the game. Cause I'm a game changer. 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 Yeah, I told you once before, my God came to change the game. Different outlook on to life, a different way to play the lane. Now my rushing yours is skyrocketing, now I'm so insane. For the kingdom building, now my shot, it cannot be contained. So I'm gon' pray for change, for myself and then what I can. I don't need no euros or no pesos or no money grams. Shout out to Wado, cause I know that he gon' play this fam. The FCA Sports Camp, game changer, summer jam. I don't need 100 grand to tell them that they need the lamb. It's heaven, it's just who I am. Al Kim, this where I stand. Man, I'm gon' play the fist. It's so deep to turn it quick. It's like I'm out from the trap to turn around, get back in it. Never that's so insane. It's evident your butt they chain. Like I'm Jack Johnson, the same year he changed his name. So I sacrifice my life for the cause just to win. And if you a game changer, let me see my head represent. My grind on high. Win, lose, and drought. I'ma ride till I die. I go hard in that lane. My God is the aim. Put me in, coach, and watch me change the game. Cause I'm a game changer. 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 Now put me in, coach. 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 I'ma go hard. I'ma go hard. I'ma go hard. I'ma go hard. Cause I'm a game changer. 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 I'm a game changer.
Oh, game changing. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. This is Christina Eve, the co-host of Crisis. Woohoo! We have a little delay right now. We're actually getting set up. Tonight is our very first pilot taping of Crisis TV show. Woo! Praise God. Where are those little clapping hands at in the background when you need them? But yeah, so we got Mr. Doc Pearson is here, the host with the most. We're just getting set up here, so just please be patient with us. I'm just really, really excited to be on tonight, even with our special co-host, our guest, and can't wait to hear her testimony and her story and just sharing. That's what we do here at Crisis. We share the survival and overcoming, with trauma, just to triumph, and that's what we are about at Crisis. So right now, just looking around at this studio, I am so excited for God opening doors up and just, where we're at right now, it's just all giving him glory. Amen. So I'm going to get ready to set up here in a moment. Everybody's going to be jumping on. But outside of that, I just wanted to let you all know that, we appreciate you listening in. We appreciate you sharing, the show. And if anybody has any kind of testimony, a story that they want to share, please do get in touch with us. Contact info. No More DV at No More DV Network at gmail.com. No More DV Network at gmail.com. So go ahead and reach out. Just touch base. Let us know you have a story. If you know somebody that has a story, we are here to celebrate you. So we're still getting set up right now in this Phoenix, Arizona. I'm loving the studio. I really am. We got Mr. George Molina here on photographs, got kind of like the paparazzi here. I'm getting used to this right now. It's kind of a little bit nerve-wracking, but I'm just excited. Amen. Because when God does it, we just walk right into it. So and that's what we're here about. So I hope everybody's doing good tonight. And Elation Magazine, it is our sister company through Elation Radio. You can look up on our magazine where we're uplifting souls worldwide. That's www.elationmagazine.com. You could actually find us as well on Facebook. We have Elation Network. Facebook page, Elation Magazine. We're always posting inspiring things. We've the co-host, our guest, is going to be calling in right now in a few seconds. So we're about to get this going. Okay. She's on the phone now. You're on now? Okay. All right. Yeah, forgive the delay here. We're just getting everything together. And what is your name? All right. We got Miss Kathy on the line.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Well, I'm so delighted to be here. It's definitely a pleasure and a blessing.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And just sitting right across from you, too, you're absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
And if y'all can see her right now, she's rocking some nice hairdo. I got my hair did today, and I'm sitting across from her like, wow. So you are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for being here tonight. And I just want you to be able to share a little bit about yourself, like right where getting going right here. Just, introduce yourself to us, just a little bit about your background, what you do, and then we'll get into your story.
Okay. Well, my name is Kathy Land, and I'm a native Arizonan. I was pretty much raised up in northern Arizona, but I've lived here down in the valley throughout most of my adult life. My husband and I live here. We have 2 wonderful sons. I have a granddaughter, and I'm a personal trainer by trade. That's what my husband and I do. We both have our own personal training studio here in the building where we train people to help them get fit. But we also we help them with their, we like to say, mind, body, spirit, because they have to go 3 together, because usually we find that if they're having physical issues, oftentimes that's usually just a manifestation of what's going on the inside. So we help them get fit in all 3 areas.
That is amazing, and I actually have to commend you for that with being that holistic lifestyle, because I became a holistic life coach with coming from anorexia nervosa to morbid obesity, and I just made those changes, applied biblical principles, and I've lost over 100 pounds naturally.
Wow.
So, and it's the same thing, the mind, the body, and the spirit. So that is amazing. I definitely want you to share information how the listeners can get in touch with you and your husband, and that is amazing. So you're a grandmother, too. You are gorgeous, okay? I'm looking at her like, I want to be like you when I grow up. No, but so just tell us a little bit more about your story, because, Twin Crisis, we celebrate, like we were saying, just triumph. You're here with the story, you're here with the testimony, so please do share with us whatever you're comfortable with sharing for the listeners tonight.
Well, I'll just share a little bit of my testimony. I was pretty much raised in a Christian home. I'm one of 5 children. My parents were hardworking, did their very best to instill God's word in our lives. And later on, as I got older, my dad actually became a pastor. My grandfather was a pastor, and his dad was a pastor. So I have a lineage of pastors in our family. But I was raised in the church, learned all the Bible stories, all of that good stuff. But so many of us know as PKs, if you will, oftentimes become a little rebellious. And that was pretty much my story. My story is the story of the prodigal. And so I basically, began to kind of just drift my own way, go in a rebellious pattern. And that took me to some very dark places in my life. I don't really know how much you want me to share right now, but,
No, whatever you're comfortable with,
At a very early age, I pretty much started to rebel, started experimenting with drugs, and started ditching school, met a boy, and that began to just take my life in a whole other direction.
And there's a lot of people I know that are listening that have all been there. I could raise my hand. So that's just something. And then coming from having the pastoral backgrounds, I know that the high statistics where the children, have challenges because, the fathers are, very involved with the church, and not that they're neglecting the children, but you still have those issues and those challenges. So you're coming into this rebellious stage, and you're experimenting with drugs, and then you meet this guy, and what happens next?
So, of course, he's older than I am. He's about 4 years older than I am, and I'm 12 when I meet him. Yeah, so he's 16, I'm 12. Obviously, my parents began to freak out a little bit because they're like, this is, could very easily get out of control. They began to kind of intervene and try and keep a closer eye on me. But, with 5 kids and they're both working, it was kind of hard to do. I started running away, ditching school to be with him. Because he was older than me, he had a lot of influence over me, and I loved the attention. I was looking for that. I had some rejection issues that I think he kind of helped feed into, because I kind of felt a little rejected by my parents because they were in the ministry and they were so busy. I believed a lie that the enemy told me, and he began to water that seed that he had planted in my life. And so, basically, started to rebel, run away, and very quickly my parents realized that the more they tried to stop it, the more I went towards it.
Wow,
So,
that's interesting there, if I can interject really quick, because, and I believe through those rebellious stages, because I know if my parents were listening, they'd be shouting some amens right now, but through those rebellious stages, we think we know it all. We don't want to hear, don't preach at me, don't teach me, don't coach me right now, because I know best. But sometimes we have to go through those trials, just kind of like a baby that's learning how to walk. They fall, bump, get back up, get back up. So at what point now you're like coming into this rebellious thing? You're so just share more of what's going on next.
And Kathy, before you start, let me thank you for putting up with my being late.
Oh, no. I'm used to it.
That sounds like a male.
No, not at all.
Well, let me say welcome to you. I thank you, Christina, for being able to set up and get her going here. We got a lot of feedback, I think, because we're all trying to talk at the same time. But I do want to hear your story, and that's what's the most important thing. So why don't you just go ahead and continue to share?
Okay. So basically, I find myself at about 14 years old. 2 years have passed. My parents are, still trying, praying, I'm sure, fasting and everything they could think of to try and help me out. But I even remember an intervention where my nana and my aunts and my mom, they all got together and sat me down and had one of those powwows about, you do not want to get involved with this boy and his family. We know about them. We have history, we've seen kind of the family history, and they kind of did an intervention, and I just wasn't hearing it. So I found myself pregnant at 14 years old, at the very end of being 14. And just as I turned 15, I ended up having my first son. And as I said, I had my first son, and that changed my life forever, because now I was even more involved than I had any idea. You know what I mean? This was quickly. I was in love. I mean, let's face it. I really thought I was in love, but he was very controlling. It was nothing for him to tell me, you'll never amount to anything aside from me, and I've made you who you are today. So there was a lot of mind control, if you will, that he would play over me. He was older than me, so I allowed him to, start devaluing who I was. Nobody's going to love you like I love you. Nobody's going to value you like I do. So yeah, that's how the abuse kind of started. Then it would be, pushing me around. He would come home drunk. And by this time we were living together, had my child. And things just began to escalate from there. I went through the whole thing of, it will never happen again. I promise.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think you could actually change him? But, that's the one thing that most people say when they get together and they see that there's a failure, they see it's not going in the direction they expected. Did you feel that there was going to be a change?
I felt there was going to be a change, but not that I could change him. That came later in life. I started thinking that later as I got older. But I thought that he wanted to change, and I believed that he loved me, and I believed that he could change. I was duped. I really did believe maybe one day he'll wake up and he won't want to throw me across the room, or maybe one day he won't want to take what he wants from me when I say no. And maybe, if I walk this way and talk this way and dress this way, and I take care of his baby and his home the way he wants, he's going to make good on all those promises that he made.
What do you think is the problem that you found, that with all of this ideology that you had in your head of what life was going to be like and how we were going to be this great family, what do you think really went wrong? You had this dream in your head, this vision. What went wrong?
Well, now that I look back in hindsight, I realize that he was a very broken individual from his upbringing. There was a lot of abuse in his home, being raised that way. I didn't know that. You don't research at 14 years old this person that you're getting involved with. You jump in head first, and that's what happened. So as in the 4 years that I was with him, I began to see the abuse that was just so interwoven into his family and his upbringing. And he had daddy issues too. His father didn't raise him, and his stepfather didn't really accept him. So he had his own, set of issues. Now that I look back, I'm like, wow, all those signs and things of that nature. But yeah, I don't think it was anything that I did wrong at all. I think he just was a very broken and hurt individual, and so hurt people hurt people.
Okay.
Wow.
How would you say, and you went through this too, what advice could both of you give a typical young lady who was feeling like, this is the dream of my life, he is Mr. Wonderful.
Oh, that was a lot.
With the bag of chips.
Oh, yeah. Holy mail chips.
What can we tell young ladies who are listening to this who need to understand that it's not about what I see or even about what I feel, yet what I see and what I feel is important. What advice could either one of you give to that young lady that's sitting out there right now?
Well, if I could say anything to myself back then, it would be, a lot of times people who are on the outside looking in can see things that you can't. You're unable to see what's right in front of you because when you're in love with somebody, let's face it, you make some silly choices and decisions. So if I would have just listened to my family when they sat me down and said, hey, look, we know what we're saying. I wish I would have just taken a few moments to process that rather than just saying, oh, you just don't want me to be happy. You just don't know what I'm feeling. You don't know him like I know him.
Right.
And all of those things that we say when somebody who loves you comes and tries to, maybe give you some warning signs that they're seeing. So oftentimes if someone comes out, they're not hating. They just really do see these things that you're maybe unable to see.
Yeah. And what I was going to say too is we have a tendency to justify why we're together, but at the same time going through it, deep down inside, in our spirit, like even embedded in our soul, we feel those red flags, and we know this isn't love, and we know, but I think in our stubbornness during those rebellious times, to those that are listening and answer to your question, is I would suggest embracing the red flags. So when you say, okay, I know this isn't how, it's supposed to be, but so instead of making those excuses for him, instead of making justification, we need to literally sit down and give it to God. And that's in John 3:30, he must increase, but I must decrease. Yeah. So we have to decrease in our minds, our thoughts, and not on our own understanding, right? And just let the Holy Spirit minister, because change begins with us from the inside out. And if we're not looking in, then we're going to keep our foot out to the floor, in all honesty. So for those that have experienced anything, I would say just look inside first, and see God.
Yeah,
I think that those are good points. And I think, Kathy, it's obvious that you made this tremendous change. You have a wonderful husband. You have all of these things that have happened. Ray is a good, wonderful man. And you're very fortunate because a lot of people go from bad relationship to bad relationship to bad relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you may have experienced some of that too.
Oh, yeah.
So, you finally found the right one.
I did.
And so, what was the shift in your life that led you to actually getting the right man?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. And then let's talk some more about the domestic violence, because that's the story that really captured me. Okay. How did you get out of that? So what's the shift that took place?
It was God, because when I finally came to the end of myself and me trying to figure everything out, and I actually said that prayer of surrender where I asked God to come into my situation in my life. He began to take a shift in my life. And, it was pretty amazing because when I met my husband, Ray, the last thing I was looking for was a relationship. He just kind of fell out of the sky, if you will. And I just really was not interested in being in a relationship. And 8 months later, I was married.
So he just wooed you off your feet and just...
In a way, You know what I tell people about my husband is he's the first person that, and I'm going to try and say this without crying because it still chokes me up today, but he's the first person, aside of my parents, that showed me the love of God, like a true, genuine love. Because I was used to, in my past, men taking off, leaving me, using me, abusing me. As soon as they would find out, something they didn't like, there was the rejection. And with Ray, when he was first exposed to maybe a not so great aspect of my life, rather than hightailing it or judging me, he loved me. And that's what won me over. Was I looked at him and I said, he's got something.
All right.
He's got something that I've never seen in a man before, and he's loving me through this.
Yeah.
Like, he literally loved the hell out of me.
Okay, good.
He loved the hell out of me.
All right.
And so that was it. That was the thing. And God knew that he would do that, I guess. He entrusted. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you probably needed in that stage at that point.
My own dad, when he met Ray told him, I want to marry your daughter. We'd known each other a month and a half, and he told my dad the first time he met him, I want to marry your daughter. And my dad said, I don't think you know what you're what you're asking for. He says,
oh my.
And my dad gave him a stern warning. He says, I'm going to tell you, if my daughter is serving God, she'll be the best thing for you. But if she's not, I sleep with one eye open.
Wow. Right?
And you would think Ray would have hightailed it. He got me in the car.
That was it. Wow. Love it. And she's over here. I'm not going to cry. I will say this without crying. I'm over here. No, and that's beautiful because, so what would you say to those that are dreaming of not necessarily that knight in shining armor or that believe in love and, that want that second chance, those that are coming out or maybe, kind of going through and they haven't necessarily been healed. I mean, what would you say? Because you're living, walking perfect. God is able. And so what would you say to encourage them from your experience?
Well, where I was at that point in my life is I was already cultivating a relationship with God. He was already starting to heal me, but I was really working on me at that time. And I think that's why God brought Ray, because, he saw that I was starting with me instead of going and looking for a man to fix me or, make me feel good like I used to use. I used to use men to help feed my, insecurities and all of those things.
Right.
And so, I was basically genuinely wanting change to start with me.
Okay.
So that looking for love in all the wrong places kind of thing, right? Because the love that you wanted was more like kind of to fill the void.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize that it's like that law of attraction and that we cling and attract things that were what's familiar. So it took you wanting to work on yourself for your husband to appear literally swoop you off your feet. I love it.
And that's so important because I try to teach people, make sure that before you start believing by faith that God is going to send me my husband, you first got to ask the question, am I really ready for the guy who God is sending me?
I was a hot mess.
Yeah, right. And so God may have to do some shifting and some changing and a lot of adjusting of who you are before you'll even see the man that God has for you. And a lot of women don't see that. Men too. I don't want to just say women. But they don't really see that this thing is two-way. God bringing somebody to you and God also bringing somebody to the other person, but you being presented to the other person. And it's not enough for you to simply say, I just want a good man. That's not enough. And it doesn't mean that you'll be, all your flaws will be gone, because the flaws are going to be there.
Yeah.
But that man's got to be able, or that woman, has to be able to love their spouse, knowing that all of those flaws are there.
Right.
But yet, most of us go in looking for perfection.
Yeah, that's so true.
We're not looking for flaws. And those issues, those ideas that we look at and that we get frustrated about, those are the things that kind of make us start questioning. I know for a fact, I got married to my sweet thing, my baby food.
I love this story.
6 weeks after we met.
Come on, Jesus.
Okay?
Right. Woo. I love it.
Here's the thing that happened. We had to know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it was God. Yeah. Because we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
So there was no dependency on what we knew, other than the fact that God said, that's your wife.
Yeah.
And when God said to me, that's your wife, she confirmed, yes, I know that. I know that I'm the one.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, baby, I'm glad you know you're the one.
Okay.
But 6 weeks later, so when I don't advise that for nobody.
Right?
That's no counsel that I give. I tell people, try to know, meet the person, try to spend as much time in courtship as possible. And there are several things that will mess up the courtship. Sex definitely messes up the courtship.
Right.
Because once you start having sex, you focus on getting more.
That's it.
Okay?
Yeah.
And enjoying it more.
Yeah.
And having more to enjoy. And that becomes the focus.
Right.
So that automatically throws you off to where your attention should be.
That's right.
I was fortunate again. I said to my wife at that time, my fiance, I said, I am not going to have sex with you in marriage. She said I was the first man that ever said that to her in her entire life.
Yeah.
So to me, that was a blessing that other guys, of course, I'm better than anybody else. I know, Chris.
He's over here popping his collar, people.
No, I just felt like that this was a person who I knew that God wanted me to be in her life.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move on to your whole domestic violence story. That was a tremendous sharing that you did with me and your husband, and that day that we sat in the office and you talking about the cry. I couldn't believe the things that this little Cassie was telling me, because how could somebody just beat you so badly? But I don't want to jump in. Tell us that story.
Well, you know, things quickly escalated after I had my son. I really wasn't doing anything. I wasn't allowed to have a job. I wasn't allowed, you know. He started really stepping into a whole realm of control to the point where I would be allowed to see my parents, but it was limited, you know, and I had to be at home, and he would go to work, and when he came home, dinner had to be ready, and if the slightest thing was off, he would go off. And he was allowed to go out and come back at any hour of the night, and when he did, you know, things had to be a certain way, and if they weren't, he would go off. He drank a lot at that time. And, you know, I'm not going to pretend like I was perfect, because I wasn't. We started experimenting with drugs. You know, at that time, crack cocaine was really prominent in our community. And so, you know, we would experiment with that and doing little things like that. So that really just escalates everything, you know, when you start. I wasn't a drinker back then, but that was predominantly what we did. We would smoke crack cocaine and you know, he just really started getting more controlling. He started carrying guns and knives, and if I think just didn't say the right thing, you know, I think I started being a little rebellious because I was scared to death, for one thing, of him. But once in a while, you know, I would make him angry, and I would kind of buck up, if you will, and that would just make the wrath even worse. And so I think one of the stories that I shared with you was, it was like a Saturday afternoon, and he had been out drinking with his cousins, and he came home, and he was pretty drunk, and he told me to get in the car, and this particular Saturday, his mom had our son, so he knew that my son was away, and he got me in the car, and he said, drive, and he had a 12-pack of beer, and he says, I just want you to drive out to the woods. We lived in Flagstaff, so it doesn't take far to get into the woods, but we went down a dirt road, and he had his gun, and he proceeded to tell me that he wanted me to write a letter to his mom stating that she could raise my son and that he was going to kill me and then he was going to kill himself. And I just remember that was the longest drive ever because, you know, I wondered, was I ever going to make it back? Was I going to make it back? And I just remember crying out to God and, you know, asking him to help me. And Long story short, he ended up passing out before we got to our destination, and I was able to drive us back into town. When I got back into town, I just jumped out the car and ran to the nearest phone and got my mom to come, and the police didn't even arrest him for that. They wouldn't even let him, they wouldn't even make him leave my house. No, literally, because at that time they said because it was my apartment in my name, and they would not make him leave. They made him leave, but they couldn't do anything about him coming back because he had a key. And so, things like that just started happening. And then I finally made the decision that I was going to get away. And I ended up leaving, and I went to stay with my parents. But he would literally stalk. Like, my parents had a wooden deck, and he would hide under there. I knew this afterwards because he told me. He would hide under there, and when, he would see who would be coming to the house to see us, and he would tell me things that we had said, and it was just creepy stuff, But at that one time that I got away from him, I ended up getting a job at Dunkin' Donuts. It was my first job ever, and I was excited. And I remember, again, I let his mom have my son that day, and I went to work. And when I got home, my girlfriend and I pulled up to our apartment complex, and when I looked at the door to get out the door, he was standing there with a gun to my head, and he pulled me out of the vehicle and dragged me by my hair to his car. And I just remember my girlfriend Lacey, she was screaming and trying to get him to let me go, but he wouldn't. He put me in the car. Long story short, he drove me at gunpoint down here to Phoenix, where he already had my son. He had his mother bring my son down to Phoenix. So by the time we got down here, my son was already here. And
How long of a drive was that?
It's a 2-hour drive.
So 2 hours you sat in the car next to a guy with a gun ready to kill you.
The only thing that went through my mind was he's not drinking, so I pretty much think he's pretty cognitive. You
end up learning their ways.
You
right?
do.
Yeah.
If he's not drunk, then I have a chance.
Okay.
But do I jump out of this car? No. Why? Because I don't even know if my child's alive right now. I don't know where my child is. He won't tell me. God is amazing, because I know that by the time all of my parents caught wind of what happened, they had started praying, and of course my dad got his shotgun, and he was driving around town looking for him, I'm all of 16 years old, and
well, you were 16. What? All of this? 16.
All of 16, and by this time he's an adult, so he's over 18.
Oh, my God.
He's 20. So he brings me down to Phoenix. He takes me to see my son, and he proceeds to tell me that, we're going to move down here and everything's going to be perfect. I'm going to want him again. We're going to be the perfect little family, this and that and the other. Well, that evening my son started having complications. He stopped breathing.
Yeah.
And I always say, but God, because he ended up we took my son to the emergency room. And when we got there, he saw how broken I was, and he let me call my mom. Well, that was his biggest mistake, because when I called home, the cops had the phone tapped.
Oh,
so at that point in time, they were able to trace the call to the hospital. They ended up finding us at the hospital, but waited till he took me away from the hospital, and that's when it went down. I'm talking helicopters, guns drawn. It was the craziest experience.
Wow.
But that was the one thing that had to happen in order for me to totally break free from him. Now, I'd like to say that everything just went peachy after that. No, I had to go to court. It was the most demeaning thing I ever had to go through. His family was so cruel to me.
Of course.
It was all my fault.
I was just going to say that.
That he was going to go to prison. It was all my fault that, this all happened. And I just remember my dad, the rock that he was. He went every day with me to court. And it didn't matter what they said. He was right there with me. And he held my hand through it all. But he ended up going to prison for about a year and a half. He pled down to about a year and a half. And so that was how I was able to finally break free. It literally took him going to prison. And even after that, he would contact me, and it would freak me out. It took me a very long time to get free from the fear that he had. I mean, the fear is amazing. It's how controlling it can be. It can really mess you up.
How long ago has that been now?
I'm 34 now.
Okay.
A lifetime and a half ago.
So we're talking about almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 20 years.
My son's he's 30 now. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see you still tearing up over this.
Yeah. I've never really talked about this in public before ever. Okay. In fact, the day that I told you, my husband was sitting there looking at me like I haven't heard parts of this story because
that's right.
I really had just pushed a lot of, for years, I really stuffed all of this stuff down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I wanted to address really quick is that's where healing takes place.
Mm-hmm. In
the more, and I know I say this every time we're on the air, but silence is not the solution.
No, it's not.
Because what happens is you harbor those emotions, you're suppressing it, and, you develop like PTSD and things of that nature, which is a post-traumatic, stress syndrome. Yes, so I just commend you for speaking out and for being here today and sharing, because I know this is not easy, because in speaking, you have that tendency to kind of relive some of those moments, but knowing who you are, where you're at, and you're helping other people with the holistic lifestyle. I mean, I just praise God for your story and where you are today. So,
Christina, let me also say, I agree. Thank you so much. But let me also say, Christina, that I think that the whole issue of resharing develops more strength.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and at first you do start kind of feeling like it's being relived, and subconsciously you go back there. But the more that you do it, the more you gain.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You get. I receive healing more and more each time.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to point out real quickly, for a long time I had that. I think many of us victims of domestic violence, we think that we've done something to deserve that. And I just want to speak to that real quick, because you haven't done anything to deserve it. Hurt people. And I think to go down that path of, where you just feel like, man, what did I do wrong? And you start trying to figure it out, and you're not going to figure that out, because it's not you that's broken. It's the person who's, they're broken. And so I just wanted to speak to that, because I know that was huge for me, and then you kind of adapt a victim mentality too if you're not careful. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So the audience that's listening, they feel that the ones who have gone through what you've gone through, they relive it, they gain strength from it, but they have to, if I'm kind of summarizing, they have to be able to also put in place the fact that they are not to blame, that this choice that this other man made stepped over the line. Mm-hmm. So you may be the blame for an argument.
Sure.
You may be a blame for, getting mad, running out the house. You can take blame for all of those things.
Yeah.
But when somebody crosses the line and decides that they want to hurt you,
physical harm,
at that point, and for all of our audience, they need to hear this. At that point, you need to be able to say, the blame stops here.
Right.
Yeah. The buck stops here.
That's right.
Because at that point, that person made that choice. And they can say all they want to, you made me, but that's not the case.
That's
you
right.
didn't make me.
That's right.
All right. So now, here you are, 57 years later.
Please.
No. Here you are, almost 20 years later. Things have changed. You got this wonderful husband. I met you training. Tell us about your business. Tell us now about your successes, all right? Because that's what we're really here to do, is to talk about your success. Okay. How did you make that transition from being this person that coming out of prison or coming out of that environment, you've come to know who God is, and now
business owner.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
Well, again, I'm going to give honor to my husband, because I got to give honor where honor is due.
Sure.
Because of I did not serve the Lord for 35 years of my life. I lived a very destructive life. I mean, after I broke free from that relationship, I had 3 long-term relationships, but I had like a 7-year itch. I'd stay with you for 7 years, and then it was move on.
I thought that was a male.
No, sorry.
Females get that too.
Because of that, you know what I mean? when I used to not have goals. I was not a dreamer. I didn't have any vision for my life when I came to the Lord, when I found myself in prison. And, I think back about a day when I used to exercise somewhat in prison. And I went to an aerobics class, and my aerobics instructor came to me after the class, and she said, Kathy, I'm going home in 3 weeks, and God told me that you're the next instructor in my place. And I said, no way, I'm never getting up there and doing that. I just want to be a participant, And she said, I'm telling you what God told me. She says, meet me on the basketball court tomorrow. And I was obedient, and I went, and I hated every minute of it at first, but I didn't know then God was preparing me for what I would do now.
Okay.
You see, the one thing about God is he knows what gifting he's placed inside of us.
Sure.
And we may not see it, and we may not even see ourselves doing that. But he knows what he's gifted us with. And so because he knew he had gifted me in that area, he began to cultivate that gift while I was yet in prison. So when I got out and I met Ray, and his whole thing was bodybuilding and fitness, and he came out knowing he was going to be a trainer because he'd done it in the past, and he knew he could do that without a record, and all that stuff the challenges we face when we come out of prison. And I remember helping him study for his test, for his to get his certification and everything. And when he got it, we celebrated it. And then he trained for 5 years while I worked a regular 9 to 5. And every day I would get up and I would say, I cannot stand you today because you are learning from ear to ear and you're working for yourself and you love what you do. And I have to go and make somebody else rich today.
Wow.
And literally, he would say, don't hate. But all the while he was telling me, well, quit and do it too. You can do it. And I just couldn't see it for me. And 5 years, I asked God. I said, Lord, let me do something that I'm going to love, and let me take this leap of faith. And God finally told me, you can go. And so I gave my 2 weeks' notice, and we began to do personal training out of our garage. We turned it into a gym, and we trained everybody we could and would, in the little town we were at. And we did that for about 9 months. And then I told Ray, I said, I'm ready to move, and I believe God has said we can move. And so there were some challenges with that because we were both self-employed, we were both ex-felons, and we had a pit bull puppy. So it was like, well, who's going to rent you a house? You can't go to an apartment. So I just started selling all my stuff off. And Ray says, I just kept seeing my couches go out the door. And the TV's getting sold. He's like, I know we've all been there. Yeah. And I'm like, God said go, and I'm going. So and I'm getting new stuff. Yeah. I just, because my husband was a visionary, and I would see him say things, and then they would come to pass. Sure. I began to have vision, and I began to have goals. And we moved down here to Phoenix, and that's when God just has begun. It's just been this faith walk. Yeah. Where he's taken us from faith to faith and glory to glory. And I give God all the glory because there's nothing in the world like getting up and loving what you do every day.
Sure, right.
Every day I get up and I get to impart to somebody else, help them become a better version of who they are, and speak life to them. And so it's so rewarding.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, for the audience, Christina and the studio audience, this girl works my body, and my wife and I are under her husband saying, come on, keep going, keep going. Okay, you're doing good. And both of us under there, they're saying, you're doing great. And we look at each other. When will this all be over?
Yeah, we're looking at the clock.
Looking at the clock. And I tell you, they are great trainers. They are great trainers, yeah. Why don't you give the website, the phone number, of the Rayland Attack.
Our website is actually under construction. Actually, it's supposed to be launched next week.
Okay.
But you can find us on Facebook. So it's Land Attack Training System on Facebook. We have our own page.
Land Attack
Training
Systems. Okay, good.
Yep.
And so they can reach you on Facebook that way.
You have all our phone numbers there. You can click and reach us. And so, yeah.
Okay,
That's
good.
probably the easiest and the best way to do that.
Good. And I have to say, again, and just speaking for your company, it is the best money I've ever spent. I mean,
Good,
literally.
I'm glad.
I mean, I could get up out of my chair without calling on God.
Or like me was praying, I could do all things through Christ. I would pray that prayer just to walk away from the fridge.
Yeah.
That was my thing. Yeah.
I would groan every time I get up. And now I get up and I feel anything.
That's awesome.
And I'm just like, wow, this is good. She measured me. And both of us are losing inches.
Yeah.
Woohoo! We love it. Yeah, we just love it. So you guys are definitely doing a great job for that, and I thank you for that. So I tell anybody, especially those people who think the money is not worth it. Mm-hmm. All right, those are the people who are usually eating, grown-up Snicker bars. Because I've had my share and a half. Okay, I think I own part of Snickers. Hard. Okay. Well, people need to understand that you have to put your investment in yourself as priority.
Amen. That's right.
And I believe that's where God has we've had people tell us, mentors, and they say you got to find your niche. Well, our niche is the body of Christ.
Okay.
We have a true passion for men and women of God who, so many of us, we don't go out and we don't party and we don't smoke or drink and all that, but we'll eat anything. And then we're over there praying and asking God for healing because your body's sick. Well, a lot of that is tied into what you're eating. And so, we love to educate people and hold them accountable and we don't just tell you what to do. We're there to walk alongside you. But we want to see the body of Christ healthy because God has given us a purpose. And if we're not healthy enough to see that through, because we're sick in our bodies, the body is an amazing thing. I mean, God, it will heal itself if you're putting the right things in.
Right.
So we say you are what you eat.
That's right.
And are you eating to live or living to eat?
Yeah.
So there's a big difference there. We help you with your nutrition and your exercise, and we pray for you too. So. We just love that.
We need to add to that although Kathy has said this about the body of Christ, it doesn't mean that she discriminates. It doesn't mean that her and Ray won't train.
Oh, no, we have every walk of life come through, all ages. Our youngest client is 3 years old.
3 years old?
Hey, Avon, if you're listening.
Wow.
He comes in and he does boxing with his, with my little kick bag while his mom trains. And so we've had 82 to 3, so we don't discriminate on age.
I had this picture in my mind of this 3-year-old lifting weights.
He does his little boxing, he has his little gloves. But, and we have all walks of life.
Sure.
It's amazing. I have a wonderful group of Middle Eastern women that God has brought my way that I'm able to pour into and love on. And I just love my Middle Eastern girls. They come in and we've got all types and
That's amazing. I wanted to jump in. We're going to rewind a little bit here because I know you were talking about as far as drugs and experimenting with drugs. If you can address the sobriety part.
Okay.
Like what steps did you take as far as sobriety?
Okay, that was a big one for me because that's what I did. I used to self-medicate, and that's all part of the stuffing. Okay. So rather than deal with the hurt and deal with the past, I would
numb it.
And I was good at masking. So I would be extremely intoxicated or extremely high, and you would never know because I became so good at just harnessing all the signs. So that was probably the biggest challenge that I had when I came to Christ and I began to work on me because that was my go-to. And it was alcohol for me.
So it sounds like you just implied that you came to Christ first, but then you had to deal with the struggle of that change.
Yeah, that whole mentality of when you come to Christ, everything is just going to be fine.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Especially for those of us who've been through a lot of abuse and a lot of heartache, there's a lot of stuff there that needs to be addressed and just healed, basically. You just need some inner healing, that's it.
That's important.
Nothing to be scared of. In fact, it's liberating. That's where you're going to get your freedom. And that's where you're empowered.
Right.
And that's when, you're able to share with somebody else, hey, I've been in your shoes. I've walked a mile in your shoes, and that helps them in their walk. So, I had this seriously. And so with that, accountability was big for me. I had to make sure that when I started feeling like that was what I was going to go to, because that's what I'd done for so long, I would reach out to somebody and I would say, hey, you know what, I'm really struggling right now. I really need somebody to know that I'm struggling because I'm just about this close to going and having a drink. And we all know that it was never one drink.
Right.
I drank the whole bottle, and so accountability was huge. And I'm going to get a little spiritual on you right now, but it's the lesson that God taught me.
Okay.
I remember having a moment where things were really bad, and I went out and I got a bottle. Well, a week later, I was still drinking. I mean, I literally did not stop for a week.
Wow.
And I remember telling my husband, Ray, my knight in shining armor, after he was floored by what was going on because he could not understand. He never drank a day in his life, so he couldn't relate. I told him, take me to my mom and dad. And I went to my mom and dad's, and I remember through that week crying out to God and saying, God, well, Christians aren't supposed to do this, first of all, right? Yeah. They're not supposed to be drinking. And they're not supposed to be falling flat on their face, especially when they have a Wednesday night Bible study that they're teaching.
Yeah, that would be important.
Let's just be real.
Yeah.
So I had all this guilt and all this shame, and I'm rebuking all these devils, and I'm thinking I have a demon of alcoholism or, I don't know what's going on. And I go to my mom and dad's, and I start to sober up. And I had a mentor at that time, and I just talked to her today, as a matter of fact. But she came into the room, and she sat on the bed, and she said, Kathy, what's going on? And I said, I just don't understand. What's going on? Why can't I stop? And why does this keep happening to me? And she said, she said, your flesh will drag you straight to hell. And when she said that, it was like somebody turned on a light in a dark room. Wow. Because I had been fighting all this other, rebuking and thinking that I was mentally, but literally what it was, and it boiled down to this. Mm-hmm. All my life I had fed my flesh.
Right.
Right? When things got hard, I did whatever it made me feel good, whether that was men, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And I was now in a place in my life where God was saying, I need you to cope without that. I'm your answer.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to help you through this hard time. You're not going to use alcohol. You're not going to use weed. You're not going to use drugs. Stop feeding your flesh, Kathy, and start feeding your spirit. And so I began to do that, and I began to just really concentrate on feeding my spirit rather than my flesh. And that was my turning point, where it was just something as simple as that,
The choice which began the process, basically.
I haven't had a drink since that day.
That is awesome.
It just made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was really my, I just can't explain it other than it was my way of making myself numb.
Yeah.
Okay. And for once in my life, I had to deal with life without numbing it.
Right.
And was it easy? No, it was hard every day.
Yeah.
For a long time, it was hard and a daily choice. But the stronger I got, the stronger I got.
That's incredible.
What a lot of people don't realize is the difficulty of addiction. And the first step toward overcoming it is to recognizing that this is real.
Very real.
That it's not a figment of our imagination.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a consequence of my flawed humanity or anything. I'm just addicted.
Yep.
And I have to, when I go to God, basically, this is my counselor interpretation of what you're saying. Is that God basically said, the only way that this addiction is going to stop is for you to look to me for your help.
That's it.
That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this is awesome. You know what? I believe when we listen back to this, we may have to bring you back again.
Yes.
Because this is
Definitely
so,
want you
so
back.
good. And this was a tester for us in many ways. But I just think that your testimony is awesome, Kathy, and I hope you're willing to come back and share it so that they could. I don't even know if we recorded anything or not. But at least anyway, I don't even know. But we've got to be able to do better, more, to make sure that this story is told.
Yeah.
And that's what Christina and I are doing with our television show. We're doing this radio show, Elation Magazine. We're trying to tell everybody that we can.
All about connecting.
Right.
Absolutely.
Support one another.
Exactly.
Yeah, and anytime I can, I believe that's a big part of my ministry now is just to help come alongside other women and help them to get the healing that they,
Sure.
In Isaiah 61:3, the Bible says that he gives us beauty for ashes.
Right.
And that's exactly what God has done in my life. I'm a story of redemption and him just restoring back everything that I, lost. And so he's just a good father, and I can't help to share more about that.
Yeah, we applaud you, and we just say congratulations for surviving. And I hope that this story is going to be told over and over again, and that millions of women will find a place of restoration because of all that you went through. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you for all of our audience listening. We appreciate you all. Tune in again next week, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
Mountain time, or what is that?
Well, Mountain, we got to be Arizona and different.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And please get a chance to tell someone else. When you get a chance, tell someone else about Crises, where we celebrate survivors like him. Thanks again.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you for having me. God bless.
Bye.
Wow. Remove the imperfection.
was a